Hello, everyone. My name's Margaret, and I'm a 50-year-old woman. I have a very compelling and cautionary tale to share with you, and perhaps someone can learn a thing or two from my experiences. I've been through a lot, but I'm so grateful for where I'm at right now. Growing up in a poverty-stricken community, education was a luxury I couldn't afford. My days were filled with caring for my younger siblings and cousins as my parents battled addiction. Reading and writing became secondary concerns when survival took precedence. But I never let my circumstances define me, and I strive to give my children a better life, even if I couldn't fully access it myself. My son, James, was academically gifted and determined to break the cycle of poverty. He met Whitney, a woman from a world of luxury and privilege. From the moment she entered our lives, it was evident that Whitney relished flaunting her wealth and making condescending remarks about my humble background. I endured her classist comments, believing that kindness and patience could bridge the gap between us someday. However, Whitney's insults grew increasingly personal and hurtful over time. She would mock my lack of literacy, belittling me in front of my family and friends, using it as a weapon to assert her superiority. It was especially hard to deal with considering that James was away on a business trip for a year, leaving her and me in the same company, which subsequently meant that she could properly beat me down without him berating her for doing such an awful thing. Each time she was confronted by James, she would feign innocence, and each time I was abused, I swallowed my pride, unwilling to stoop to her level. I always made the excuse that because she was still quite young, she didn't know any better. But there came a moment when I couldn't bear the humiliation any longer and decided it was time to take matters into my own hands. Whitney's malicious intentions became clear one fateful day when she approached me, seemingly seeking assistance with a work project. Hopeful that she was finally extending an olive branch and attempting to build a bond between us, I eagerly agreed to lend a hand. Little did I know it was all a ploy to set me up for humiliation. As I sat down with Whitney, determined to help her to the best of my abilities, she appeared to be amused by my struggles. Her snickers and giggles grated on my nerves, but I pressed on, believing that this was a chance for us to bridge the gap between us. However, Whitney's laughter intensified until it erupted into a full-blown mockery. "Whitney, is something wrong?" "Oh, Margaret, you're utterly clueless, aren't you? I set you up to fail, just for my amusement. I knew you couldn't help me with this project. I just needed to distress with a good laugh. But I didn't know that your illiteracy was this bad. How did you even name your children with a brain like that?" The shock and hurt washed over me as the realization dawned that Whitney's intention all along was to humiliate me. At that moment, I made a quick decision to reach for my phone and discreetly press the record button. Uncertain of what would unfold, I wanted to capture any further hurtful words as evidence and perhaps share it with my son, James, so he could see the truth behind Whitney's facade. I mean, what would make you possibly think that I needed your help with anything, especially with this literature review? Honestly, I didn't know that your illiteracy was this bad. How did you even name your children with a brain like that? I opted to remain silent yet again, and this amused her even more. "So you can't even respond. How pathetic. Ugh, you're lucky you gave birth to a smart son. Otherwise, where would you be in this life?" Still, I didn't respond. I just sat there in silence. "Oh, why aren't you responding? This isn't any fun if you don't care. Answer me. Why are you so stupid?" It took every fiber of my being to not get up and smack some sense into that girl. Where I grew up, you would never speak to your elders that way, but she seemed to not care about things like that. She just cared about who could help her level up in life. Everyone else was just a doormat. Ugh, whatever, I guess. I have to prepare for my upcoming work function anyways. Something that someone like you wouldn't be able to appreciate, what with your inability to read. It's an elite event. All of the greatest people in journalism and literature will be there. I'd invite you, but I'm afraid you'd be too confused to participate in anything. You just slow me down. It's a wonder how James was able to escape the same fate as you. Ha. Now, this girl was just asking for it. But still, somehow, I remained firm in my silence, not giving her any power whatsoever. She eventually left the room, huffing and puffing because I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of being hurt. She was definitely sick in the head for being this sadistic. Unbeknownst to Whitney, that recording would become a valuable tool for seeking revenge. It held the key to exposing her true character and setting in motion a plan that would shake her whole world. Once Whitney had mentioned that upcoming work function, a mischievous idea took root in my mind. I plotted to crash that very function, armed with the recorded evidence of her cruelty. My intention was not to stoop to her level or seek revenge out of spite, but rather to simply shed light on the darkness that had overshadowed my interactions with her. It was time for Whitney's true colors to be unveiled, not just to me and my family, but to her colleagues and associates as well. I was going to turn her whole world upside down. The anticipation leading up to that evening was nerve-wracking, yet I felt a sense of determination coursing through my veins. With the recording safely stored on my phone, I knew I had the power to bring about a moment of reckoning. Before that night, I searched for everything I needed to know to be able to attend such a fancy event. Whitney was right. A lot of socialites and great minds would be at this function. I was a bit nervous considering my background, but this would mean that the revenge I would get would be even sweeter. I readied myself, put on my best outfit, and walked out of my house to attend this event. Once I got inside the function, I was greeted with bright lights and flashy people. These people were fancy. Everything here looked so expensive. I was definitely feeling a bit out of place, but I was on a mission, and I was determined to do something to put this Whitney girl in her place. Suddenly, I felt a strong grip on my shoulder, forcing me to whisk myself around. What on earth are you doing here? Are you being serious right now? Don't make me laugh, Margaret. When I mentioned this event, it was not an invitation. Now get out of here before you embarrass me. My boss is here and she's keeping a close eye on me. I don't need you messing anything up for me. I swear to... Oh! Whitney's surprise led me to follow her eyes to a beautiful woman making her way towards us. She was a woman who carried herself well, and you could tell that she was a very prominent figure in her field because we weren't the only people looking at her. It seemed like the whole room seemed to follow her. She was magnificent. That's Harriet. She's my boss. When she gets here, do what you do best and shut your trap, okay? I don't need you embarrassing me. Why, hello, Whitney. How are you? I'm doing quite well, thanks. And yourself? Thank you so much once again for the esteemed opportunity to be part of this project. I'm truly humbled by... Oh, I'm sorry. I believe we haven't met. My name is Harriet, and you are? Oh, ma'am, I'm nobody. I'm just Whitney's mother-in-law, that's all. Ah, lovely. A pleasure to meet your acquaintance. The pleasure is all mine. Oh, please don't mind her, Harriet. She was just leaving. But why? The party just got started. Wow, you're right. I never get to attend functions like this. I think I'll stay, Whitney. I've changed my mind. Is that all right? Oh, that's perfectly fine, Margaret. Stay as long as you'd like. Whitney, I'm going to need to talk to you later. So find me when the event is almost finished, all right? You got it, boss. Harriet walked away to meet and greet more people. I was simply impressed with her and her demeanor. But right next to me was a seething cockroach waiting to berate me. You! I told you to get out of here, and I told you to be silent, but you just can't resist embarrassing me, can you? So you expected me to keep quiet when she was talking to me directly? Are you crazy? Ugh, whatever, just go home. I'm staying. Slightly taken aback by my assertiveness, Whitney left me alone. She stormed off to a dark corner somewhere. I chose to enjoy my time instead of being defeated by Whitney's words. I wandered around the function, appreciating the various works of literature and journalism that were presented before me. Although I wasn't doing too well with the reading from the atmosphere of the various stalls and exhibits, I could connect with the vibes and the ambience of the stories before me. There were some powerful pieces about African and indigenous literature, and it was really beautiful to behold. But after some time, I grew bored of my surroundings. There was only so much I could achieve considering my lack of literacy skills. I stood around not really sure what to do next until I felt someone calling my name. I whipped my head around to find Harriet behind me. Margaret, hello. Oh, hello, Harriet. How are you? I'm doing well. The event is going swimmingly. I just saw you wandering around and I wanted to make sure you were all right. Yes, ma'am, I'm doing fine. Well, it's just that, you see, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed to even admit this, but I can't read all that well. Oh, do you have eye problems? No, it's not that. I just never learned properly. I didn't grow up in the best circumstances and I couldn't learn. Then I got older and I felt like the opportunity missed me. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Margaret. Whitney didn't tell me anything. Yes, well, I'm not surprised. I hope you won't mind me asking, but what are you doing here if you can't read and write all that well? Well, I'm here to reveal some information that I think you might be interested in knowing. Oh? Yes, it's about Whitney. Oh, follow me to a quieter place. All right. I followed her to a secluded area on a different floor of the building. I then began to divulge the information about Whitney and her wicked ways. I told her how she mistreated me so often due to my illiteracy, and that I had a recording of her disparaging me. If I'm being honest, Mom, I came here because I wanted people to know the real Whitney. I think she's awful, and she can do some real damage to people's emotions. So I felt it best to at least present the evidence so that you, as her superior, would do what's best for you and this company. Wow, Margaret, I don't know what to say. This is a lot. Please show me the recording. I played the recording that I took on my phone, and Harriet was gasping with disbelief at everything that Whitney was saying. This is horrible. Why would she say those things? That's just the type of person she is, ma'am. She's always talking down on people who are beneath her. This is truly appalling behavior. I'm honestly shocked. Come with me. Where are we going? To teach that brat a lesson. You know, she's always had this air of arrogance on her. She was always acting as if she knew better than anyone else just because she comes from a powerful and wealthy family. But she's not that great. I'm so glad that someone else noticed. I knew she was a spoiled brat, but I didn't know that it was this bad. And honestly, hearing this information makes me sick to my stomach. So we're going to teach her a lesson. We made it back to the main event, and Harriet took me to the media booth where a guy was handling the slideshows. She explained to him that there was something important to say and that I needed to connect my phone to the speakers. Wait, Harriet, you don't intend that I would be the one exposing her here in front of all these people? That's exactly what I want you to do. I simply couldn't. I told you earlier, I'm a nobody. I can't do this. That girl has been walking all over you for God knows how long. This is your moment to take your power back. But what about your event? Won't people be disappointed with such a dramatic display? Offended? They'll be elated to know that we're the type of company that weeds out the bad guys and only brings on the good guys. This will be good press, trust me. The events that unfolded at the function were nothing short of dramatic. Clutching my phone tightly, I took the stage and grabbed the mic. People began to pay attention, and somewhere off in the distance I saw raging eyes looking at me. Whitney was looking absolutely bewildered, and she began to make her way to the stage, but I was determined to seize this opportunity. Attention! May I please have everyone's attention, please? Thank you. You all don't know me, and you don't need to know me for what I'm about to say. You just need to know that as much as this is an event that celebrates reading and writing, I hope you also know that there is a significant population in this country who don't know how to read and write. And oftentimes, we use these abilities to determine someone's intellect, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Recently, I encountered someone who made me feel inferior due to my inability to properly read and write. In fact, this abuse has been going on for a long while, but I've decided to stand up against this and expose this person for the vile individual they truly are. Whitney was making her way closer and closer to the stage. I smirked and maintained eye contact with her as I hit play on my phone to expose her awful words from before to the whole function. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence as Whitney's cruel laughter echoed through the speakers, exposing her true nature. Whispers and gasps rippled all through the crowd, and as I looked around, I noticed the shocked expressions on the faces of her colleagues and superiors. Whitney, who was practically at the front of the stage now, was red with embarrassment. She, too, was whipping her head around to see the reactions of people. The veil of sophistication and professionalism that Whitney had so carefully woven around herself was torn apart, revealing her true ugly and savage-like nature. This person is none other than Whitney Thatcher, the woman you see right in front of me. She's my daughter-in-law, and this is how she talks to me consistently. More gasps and whispers were circulating the space, except this time they were more ferocious. Everyone was looking at Whitney with disgust. I can explain. I'm afraid that won't be necessary. I always knew that because you were a Nepo baby, you were bound to be spoiled and entitled, maybe even a little bit sassy, but downright evil? That's really low, Whitney. Harriet got another mic and began her spiel. Folks, Margaret has raised an important point tonight, that we must treat everyone with kindness and respect regardless of where they come from and what they know. This is certainly the energy and attitude that we at Nimbles Inc. promote with fervor and purity. But unfortunately, it appears as though a member of our herd has not been upholding these standards. As such, Whitney Thatcher, you are fired from this company. The whole room erupted. Some people were cheering, others were still gasping with disbelief, and others still were taking pictures and videos of the whole debacle. Whitney was gobsmacked, and she looked at me with murderous intent. Also, you should probably know that you are going to get another job tonight, the one you always wanted. You mean I'm going to become chief editor? Well, not anymore. After finding out what we just found out, you won't even be able to apply for another journalism job again. You'll be hearing from my father and my lawyer. You'll all be sorry. I swear it. Whitney stomped out, and as she was walking out, people were booing and hissing at her. The night ended with many people approaching me and congratulating me on the speech I did, commending me for being strong. Harriet approached me as the night was wrapping up and said, You know, I've been looking for some inspiration lately. I've been wanting to write a book on a topic I haven't tackled before, and I think that I've found my inspiration. You've got such a powerful voice and a powerful story to tell, and I would hate for that to go to waste. What are you saying? I'm saying that I want you to be part of my team. You'll be able to see and experience things that you've never experienced before because I want to write a book about you. A book about me? Count me in. I jumped on board this opportunity with haste, and Harriet and I became best of friends. She wrote a book about me, and it garnered a lot of success. The book was about my struggles growing up and taking care of everyone around me, and although I was labeled by society as an infidel, I was more than capable and more than intellectual because I had gotten the real test of life. I went on many book tours and interviews and podcasts discussing the overnight success of the book. Life was certainly getting better for me, and what's more, I started learning how to read and write. Before, I was ashamed that a grown woman like me wasn't able to do it, but I learned that there is no shame in not knowing. How else do we grow as humans if not through trial and error? I quickly accelerated in my classes, and it's the reason why I'm able to write this story today. As for Whitney, she reaped what she had sown, losing not just one but two jobs in a single day. She faced the consequences of her actions, and while it may have been a painful lesson for her, it also served as an opportunity for growth and self-reflection. I don't know where she is now because after her debacle gained national notoriety, James had opted to get a divorce from her, finally being sick and tired of her abuse towards me and other people that she stepped on just because she felt like she could. I don't know where she is today, but I do hope that she has learned her lesson. For me, the journey towards bettering myself continues every day. I have gained recognition from my past, and now I can live a lavish and luxurious life, thanks to the practice of being humble and patient. So to anyone who is enduring or suffering any abuse, I promise you, it does get better. You have to keep fighting. And when your opportunity for a way out and a way up presents itself, you need to grab it with all of your might, because you don't know where you might end up, but it's definitely going to be a blessing.